Have you ever felt like your finances are a sinking ship with the debt as the anchor pulling you deeper and deeper? What if I told you that understanding and managing debt doesn't have to feel like navigating a stormy seas? Hello, welcome back to B3Inspire. We are discussing all about debt. Debt can feel overwhelming, but today we are going to break it down and show you how to manage and pay it off strategically so you can achieve financial freedom. And joining me today is our very own Edem. Edem is a financial coach, an expert in the field, and also an author. And we love to have him on the show. This is episode 6.
Yes, it
He's
is.
going to share with us proven strategies for overcoming debt and taking back control of your finances. Now, Edem, let's start with an important question. Is all debt bad?
No, not all debts are bad. Not at all. So there is good debt and there's bad debt, interestingly. So when we're talking about good debt, we're talking about the first example that comes to mind is mortgages. Okay, so having some form of borrowing, or I'll use a leverage in order to buy a house, to invest in the house, which over time can increase in value, so that you could have some equity in there, or depending on what kind of strategy you're using, you can even have rental income from it. So that's a good debt. So any debt that over time the return on investment outweighs the actual cost of it.
Will student loans be a good debt?
Student loan can be a good debt if, for example, the investment in education over time means that what you would earn or what you become of it over time would actually the return on it outweighs the cost of getting that student loan. And then you could also have some sort of a personalized loan, whereby the interest is low, and then also there isn't necessarily any fees on there, but to help you to put into a kind of necessary payment. And this is what I mean. So a client of mine, for example, moved to Scotland, and when he moved to Scotland, where he moved geographically for work purposes, where he stayed in Scotland, there was no means of transportation from his home to work. And so at the time, the only means that he had to get a car. And so by doing research and just going through the market, we realized that getting a personal loan with a very low interest with no fees on there and with no sort of exit fees or anything I could pay for at any time was the best outcome or the best option for him. So for that particular sort of loan or debt, it became, or we call it a necessary loan, it became a good debt. He needed that, and what he earned from leveraging on that loan to get a car outweighed any kind of cost attached to it. And he had the option. In fact, he paid it off quite early as well, in order to avoid any kind of long-term cost or interest that comes with it. And then also we do have business loans. Some business loan can also be a good investment. So borrowing to invest in projects or financing the business to expand, or to
gain
get
that profit.
Exactly, gain more business, to improve the business and not to gain that profit, which again, and I keep mentioning, the return on borrowing that money outweigh the cost. That is when it becomes a good debt.
Wow, that's great distinction. So how can someone assess whether their debt is helping or hurting them?
Okay. Before I answer that question, I think somebody might be thinking, Edem, you've talked about good debt. What about bad debt?
Oh,
so I think it's probably I could hear you. So let me just answer your question. So bad debt is to think about the opposite of good debt. So if the cost of borrowing outweighs the return on it, High interest credit cards is a bad debt, which will lead to spiral of debt, which is out of control. Again, if you do have store cards where the interest rate and then the fees attached to it is just astronomical, it becomes bad debt. And also, some people also have the bad debt whereby they borrow what we call the payday loan. Payday loan. Sometimes you could have interest of 300%.
What actually is it? What's a payday loan?
Yeah, so payday loan is a very, very short-term loan where short-term financing. Let me use the word financing. Where people have a gap between the expenditure and also their income. So when they have a gap between the total expenditure and their income, they will borrow a very short-term loan, sometimes with over 200%, 300% interest on it to make up for the shortfall in paying for their expenses, monthly expenses. And that's why they call it payday, because you are borrowing on it for maybe just 3 months or 6 months or sometimes up to a year in order to foot that necessary expenditure so that you not find yourself wanting. So that is what a payday loan is. And if you don't keep up with it, it can really be quite adverse in terms of the outcomes of the loan.
Excellent. Wow. Thank you for explaining the difference between a good debt and a bad debt. So how can someone assess whether their debt is helping or hurting them?
Good question. So let me answer this by just stating it. So there's a statistics as well that a research really, whilst I was working with the bank, that and we mentioned in the previous series that the number one thing that keeps people awake at night is not just their finances, but their debt. So the cost of borrowing keeps people awake at night and just keep them so much stress, pressure on them so much that they can sometimes wonder what is actually going on and what have I got myself into. And so if the cost of your loan or the borrowing is higher than the return on investment, then it becomes something really, really bad. And so it becomes something that is not actually helping you. But if the return on borrowing that money is higher than the cost, then it becomes a helpful loan that you have leverage on in order to get something beneficial.
And you are able to actually pay it off anyway. So it takes away the sleepless nights.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And in fact, if you're going to borrow and it's actually going to keep you awake at night, then you should really be thinking twice about it. Some people can borrow, and when they borrow, and again, if it's a good debt, because they have strategies and plans in place to make sure that they can clear it, or within a short period of time, they have the means to be able to make sure that it doesn't keep going on, then you know that it's that kind of good debt.
Good debt. I think it feels like, the same way as you have the compound effect for when you're saving, you can also have compounding for debts, and you don't want that the other way, do we?
No, not at all. No. Yeah. So it can the compound could work either way. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's about sort of early repayment charges.
Yeah, very those penalties.
Yeah, those penalties very important. Just be cautious about those ones. Again, depending on where you are. I mean, we are in the UK, so it's more about the UK don't really tend to have any kind of early repayment charges. But if you're in Canada, America, or elsewhere, they might have those built into the contract. So just check those things just to make sure that you're avoiding them. Very, very important. And again, assess if, for example, keeping the loan for a longer time will cost you more.
Yes.
If it will cost you more, please, you've got to reassess, rethink, as to what you could do in order to make sure that, again, I'll come back to it, the return on investment on the loan outweighs the cost of it.
Fantastic. Now, Edem, student loans are one of the biggest financial burdens for many people. What are some of the ways that people can pay them off faster?
Yeah. So some of the ways that you could pay it off faster is by making extra payments. So not just what is expected from you every single month, but just make extra payment. So, and again, it comes from about the whole thing about reviewing your income and making sure that you, first when you've got a debt payment plan in place, sticking to it by again, when the income increases and you have the objective that you want to pay it off a certain time, a certain period. When the income increases, put more money towards it so you can pay off early. So yeah, paying not just the what is expected of a bit more ensures that you can pay it off faster. When it comes to students loan, unfortunately, you cannot refinance it. But what you can do, well, when you're in America, maybe Canada, you can refinance it. But in the UK, you can really assess and review your type of students loan plan. Okay. So they've got plan 1, plan 2, plan 3. So if you're on plan 1, maybe you could review to say that, okay, would it be beneficial for me to be on plan 2 or plan 3? So that I could be paying less or more. I could be paying less interest. So I could pay it off early. Very important. So, and then also you could use what we call the round up method, whereby basically, if you, for example, you're paying maybe £270 a month, as an example. You've got extra money, make it £300. Yeah, if it's £350 you're paying a month, you've got extra money, make it £400.
Yes.
So round it off. By rounding it off, it means that, again, avoiding the negative impact of compounding to happen. So you are paying off early. And the amazing thing about paying off loans early is that it actually builds your wealth. Right. Because you are cutting down the loan, saving on interest. Organically, you are building that wealth, and not so the debt is not eating your wealth. So it's another wealth, building wealth. So very important. And then you could also consider, depending on where you work as well. Some companies have schemes whereby they could actually be paying off your loan for you. So employer-sponsored students loan repayment.
That'd be a good one to do a research into. Great.
Absolutely. So these schemes are available. So sometimes when you don't ask, the employer sometimes might not come and tell you that, we've got a plan whereby we can help you to pay off your loan early. I mean, really, by HR, maybe some of the perks that come with it, it should be part of the benefit that comes. It should be stated on them. But sometimes it's not really sort of quite clear. So when you ask them, is there any plans to then ask them? Is something available? If it's available, utilize it. Make sure that it's working for you rather than you working for it. And then the other thing that you could also do to pay it off faster is find a way to increase your income. Find a way to increase your income.
When a side hustle?
A side hustle, renegotiating your pay,
salary,
your salary. And also, I'm always an advocate of building your skills and building your capacity. So it's very important. So when it comes to review and said, okay, why should I increase your pay? Or sometimes you don't even ask, you don't have to wait for them to ask you, because you know that you've got skills, you've got extra accreditation, you've got extra qualification.
Let your actions speak.
Let your actions speak. Some of the things that you can actually make a proposal. You can actually submit your proposal to increase your income. And also, apart from side hustle, freelancing as well. You could also engage in it to increase your income so that you can pay off your loan faster.
Excellent. Now, what should people be cautious about when repaying student loans?
And be cautious of early repayment charges.
Very important. Those penalties.
Those penalties, very important. Just be cautious about those ones. Again, depending on where you are. I mean, we are in the UK, so it's more about the UK don't really tend to have any kind of early repayment charges. But if you're in Canada, America, or elsewhere, they might have those built into the contract. So just check those things to make sure that you're avoiding them. Very, very important. And again, assess if, for example, keeping the loan for a longer time will cost you more. If it will cost you more, please, you've got to reassess, rethink, as to what you can do in order to make sure that, again, I'll come back to it, the return on investment on the loan outweighs the cost of it.
Now, Edem, you've worked with many people who have struggled with debt. Do you have any personal story of someone who has successfully overcame this debt, which sometimes, can impact on people quite badly?
Yeah, so I have worked with an individual who had a £12,000 debt. It was made up of a mixture of debt, so credit cards, payday loan, payday loans, and also a personal loan. So 12,000. So what we did was that first and foremost, we had to come up with a plan. you had to come up with a plan.
Yeah.
So basically, negotiated. Coming up with the plan was meant that we utilized a spreadsheet and then also a debt outlook tool. That basically meant that we looked at how much each of these debt was costing her, and if she was keep on paying that, how long it would take her to pay, and also the cost of it, very important. And then by using the tool, the debt outlook tool, we basically to put it in the tool to say that if, for example, we are to negotiate the debt, right, to a lower interest paying debt,
yes,
how much would it cost there, and how long can it take her to basically pay it off? So that tool was just amazing. So by doing that, it meant that she was able to go by the outcome or the result of the tool to approach her lenders to negotiate. Yeah, so that was the guy. Although we did not get exactly as we planned it, but at least they
there's something,
they reduced the interest for her, which was quite amazing. So we negotiated the debt, which was the next thing that we did.
Yeah,
and then ensuring that by ensuring that she did not actually go for any other debt anymore. So she stopped using the credit card.
Yes.
She stopped using the credit card. There was no more borrowing, which was part of it.
Okay.
Very important. And then then the other thing that she did was that we focused on how else could you also increase your income. Okay. So for her, it wasn't she wasn't so much of the idea of a side hustle or freelance or anything like that. And what she actually did was that she went to look for another opportunity, which would pay her more. Okay?
Yes.
So she went to look for a different opportunity, which pay her more. So within about 6 months, the immediate one started with the plan, started looking for different jobs. So God for her, she thought that was like an easy way because of her skills. So she applied and she got a better paying job, which meant that the income was better. So within that 6 months, she got that job and then started putting a bit more towards the debt that we were working towards, which was really quite good. And then lastly, the other thing that she did was that after we renegotiated all the debt, came back. Oh, let me just mention that we also used the snowball.
The snowball, yes.
We used the snowball strategy to so the quick wins, the smaller debt, we get it out of the way.
Yeah.
So it was quite inspiring. So after we did all of that, we did not forget to celebrate the wins.
Yay!
So every time that she paid one debt off, we make sure that there's some of the celebration in there to herself or whatever.
Yes.
And so congratulations note that came from me or whatever, something to inspire her. But it was definitely that. So celebrating the way, but also we had consistent, regular reviews, accountability reviews. So it was quite consistent. Talking about when we began, it was twice a month. We had a review. So it was quite
intense.
And again, when it says that it takes two to tango, right?
That's right.
So
That's right. That's right.
She not just. It wasn't a case of just I'm gonna come by you.
No.
I want this really for you.
That's right.
Maybe I'm the coach that want to come by yourself, but really she also wanted it to happen, and that's very important. So you should really want it to happen for whoever is helping you. The person that's helping you want to make it. You also want to happen. So just to make sure that she or the professional might not need encouragement, but more so than you, but really to ensure that if you're serious about it, right? So you want to make sure she give you every help. I mean, I went all out in terms of accessing tools and accessing resources. I mean, we scheduled meetings to make sure that it happened for her because she really wanted to happen. It was amazing. So by having those regular, so we started with twice a month and then went on to once a month. Once the plan was in place and it was almost like systemized.
That's right.
Systemized, so we knew exactly what we needed to do every single month, set the targets, set the goals of what we want to happen each month. By so doing, within 18 months, she cleared everything.
Wow, that's very inspiring. And you know what I like about this is the fact that there's no shame about this.
No.
You know, life happens. If you have found yourself in debt, look, you are not alone. The difference this makes is that you take an action.
Absolutely.
And, you know, seek help. Don't sit there and, you know, bury your head under the sand, because it can only get worse. There is help out there. If people can actually do this, it goes to show that you can absolutely do that as well.
And I can't even emphasize the power of the sacrifices that talking about this client, that she put in, the sacrifice that she put in, and
delayed gratification.
Exactly, the sacrifice that she put in. Talking about, some of the things. I want to talk about, liking her some luxury stuff, or her clothes. She likes
tell me about it.
But
the handbags.
Yeah. She was more of a clothes.
Okay.
But she sacrificed that. Went for alternatives.
That's right.
Went for alternatives, and then some. Talking about, almost everybody should have bought something, but now
no.
Once every 2 months.
Yeah.
Once every 2 months. The sacrifices that went into it was quite
clear goal.
If you want it to happen, you can make it happen.
Yes.
But you got to really focus. You got to, your head has got to be into it. You got to passion. You got to have the drive. And again, the why was strong.
The why was strong.
The why was strong. The why was strong. She knew exactly why she wanted it to do it. And for the future. When she laid it out, some of the things that she came up with, I was quite amazed. Okay, you know what? You deserve every backing. You deserve every help. I'm going to come alongside to make it happen. So please, then delay gratification.
Yes.
Please deny yourself the return on emotions and ego.
Yes.
And going for the return on investment.
Amazing.
Huge.
Excellent.
Please, anybody can do it.
Certainly. It goes to show that anyone can become debt free with the right plan.
Absolutely.
Start now. Many people consider debt consolidation as a solution. When is it a good idea and when is it not?
So it's a good idea if it helps you to pay off your loan faster.
Okay.
Important. If if it helps you to pay it quicker than you would have anticipated.
Okay.
Again, just make sure that it's right for you. And it's also a good idea if the interest is low, or the word lower.
Yeah.
If it's lower, then it's a good idea. And if again, it simplifies multiple debts into one. Make it simple. If it's simple, with lower interest rates, and again, also watch out for any fees. Then if there's any fees attached to it, then please avoid it. If there's no fees attached to it, lower interest, and simplifies the debt, helps you pay it faster, then it's a good idea.
Wow. So that's when it's a good idea.
Yeah.
When is it not a good idea to consolidate debt?
Yeah, so it's not a good idea to consolidate debt if it takes you longer to pay debt. If
hidden fees.
Yeah, hidden fees are in there. Yeah, it can be a bad idea. So if your credit scoring is bad and you got adverse credit, there's sometimes the charges that you will incur by consolidating it can be quite astronomical. So you really want to avoid that. So it can really be a bad idea doing so. And also, if it encourages you to accumulate more debt, then again, you should reconsider. And this is what I mean. Sometimes also, I've got a loan consolidation plan, or a loan consolidation loan. And then by that means, sometimes they say that, okay, they gave me the loan. I've got a loan of 5,000 to pay off.
Okay.
And so the loan is, so I've got a good consolidation loan whereby I'm paying lower interest. I'm paying it for maybe for 3 years instead of 4 years. But then I've taken a bit extra. I need a bit extra. So instead of 5,000, I've taken 7,000 or 8,000. Taking 2 or 3,000.
It's not what you need. It's not what you need. Yeah. Okay.
If it becomes condition of it, then it's really not good, because you wanted 5,000. Yeah. So lower interest rate, check. for shorter period, check. But then you want to pay more. You want to get more loan to pay it off when you don't actually need it, and it can be tempting because free. You think that was free money.
Yeah. And it's the way, of course, that people will sell it to you as well.
And then you end up with more debt.
Cost you
more.
Yeah.
So so watch out for it. If it helps to accumulate more debt, then it's a bad idea.
Excellent. So what are the best options for consolidating debt in the UK?
So in the UK, there is what we call the 0% credit card transfers.
Okay.
So you can utilize that. It can be a good way of consolidating debt. If you do going to go for that option, please make sure you have a plan in place. Very important. Make sure you do have a plan in place. So that you can stick the plan and pay it off as quickly as possible. There are also debt consolidation loans available as well, which you can also utilize. And these loans are very low interest. It's provided by sometimes specialist companies or sometimes high street banks, so you can utilize that. And then also there are also debt repayment plans. Sometimes those ones are provided by Step Change, the National Deadline.
So the charities.
These are charities who actually help people to manage their debt and pay it off as quickly as
just
possible.
Come out of it.
Yes, exactly. That's how to come out of it. So these are options that are available in the UK. But again, you cannot go wrong having a plan in place. When I say having a plan in place, leveraging on maybe the snowball debt plan, or the avalanche.
We talked about,
Because, so
check it out if you haven't watched that.
Absolutely, go and check it out. So utilize those plans to make sure that you are taking control over your debt and then paying off as quickly as possible and mitigating any liabilities that comes with it.
Amazing. I mean, if you are probably feeling really overwhelmed because of debt, remember there are countless supports out there for you. Use these strategies and reach out to these charities that we've mentioned in the video. So Step Change or National Deadline, they will be able to support you. We want you to gain your financial freedom. And remember, it is possible. If you are finding this video really helpful, I want to remind you, like it, share it with someone who needs to hear this. And also don't forget to subscribe to B3Inspire. It's been an incredible discussion, Edem. So before we wrap up, what would be your one final tip for anyone who is struggling with debt?
Please, if you're struggling with it, you cannot start without letting your why be so strong that it can overcome any storm or mountain of debt that you have. So that is just foundational. Let the why of why you want to overcome that debt be so strong that nothing will move you. There's no discretionary spend. There's no distraction. There is no, let's go out for this. There is no pizza or ice cream, or there is no holiday that will tempt you. There is no Prada or Louis Vuitton that will distract you. There is no car that will distract you. No. But you get the point. There's nothing that will distract you from you letting go or just lowering the bar on your why. So important. And once you've done that, please, I mean, it will even drive you to be consistent.
That's right.
It will drive you to go all the way to the end. So let the why, get that why really solidify, really get it. Once you've done that, then everything about being consistent with it, starting where you are, starting strong, and where you are struggling, get somebody to come alongside you to help you be able to get to that goal, that objective. Very, very important. So please get started. Really want it to happen, and once you want it to happen, be consistent with it all the way to the end. Please don't forget that you've got every help available. There's help available. Don't shun it. Don't ignore it. Don't disregard it, because really, if you want a really promising, profitable financial future, you have to make this happen.
That's amazing. And I could just see this. Once you've developed that discipline to pay off the debt, you can then develop, it will become a habit. So that habit could then be translated into investing.
Absolutely.
So turn that story into something more powerful and become an investor. And it's possible.
And amazing, you can see that all of the principles that we shared so far, when it comes to financial management or having a successful financial future, or let me use the word profitable financial lifestyle, you realize that it's not one size fits all.
No.
At the same time as well, you realize that the principles that we've shared, some of these principles are not in isolation.
Yes.
They work hand in hand.
Yes.
And once you start with one, you realize that the other one is also working for you and working with you to achieve that goal. But if you don't start from somewhere, you see that there is nothing to work for you or work with you to get to that goal. So start now. And once you start now with that consistency, and everything else, every resource is available working for you, by the time you blink, you've reached that goal and you've overcome it.
Excellent. And if you need a professional help with this, below these videos, Edem's company's details are there. You can reach out to them for that financial expert advice on this. I love that. Let's recap today's episode. So today we've looked at understanding the difference between good debt and bad debt. Also, we've looked at smart strategies to pay off student loans faster. And we also discussed debt consolidation, one that can be helpful and one that you're probably going to say, no, thank you. And the most important thing of all of today's discussion has been taking action today, no matter how small, makes a difference. Take action. So, what's next? Wow, exciting. Episode 7.
I know.
How did that happen? Excited. Right. We are talking all about the importance of financial protection. We will cover why insurance, pension, and emergency funds, keeps coming up, are essential for long-term financial security. Before you go, if you have found this video or this episode really helpful, want to remind you to subscribe, like it, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and drop a comment on what's been your biggest debt challenge. Until next time, remember, build your foundation, believe in your potential, and become unstoppable. Become unstoppable investor. It is possible. See you next time.